Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be finishing up our series on the AN-2. We're going to be putting this thing down on the ground and kind of securing the aircraft. Now what we've seen so far is how to get it started, kind of how the systems on this one work, how to do some navigation. We've definitely been making some tracks. You can see we burnt ourselves a pretty hefty chunk of gas there. And now we're ready to start making our way down to the ground. Now there's a couple challenges with this aircraft. The first of all, of course, as you probably noticed, we have a giant radial engine on the front. Now that's an old school exposed radial engine. You probably already noticed that my cowl flaps are in the closed position, and we're basically in a cruise situation right now. So what we need to do is we need to get this plane down without freezing any of the critical components that we're going to need to actually be able to safely get this thing down. Now, if this were a real aircraft, of course, so we'd have to do a very, very precise descent procedure. If we tried to descend too quickly, you'd basically shock cool the engine out of existence, and it would not care for you very much for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make a power reduction here. One thing I like to do is I actually like to increase my RPM just a bit here. 2,000 RPM is going to really, really help slow us down a little bit here. I'll leave it there. We don't want to go too extreme. I'm going to go ahead and close up the cowl flaps, which I've done already. They're nice and tight. Now we're going to go ahead and pull the throttle back. Now the book says, again, I don't actually have the book, this is just my imagination, that we really shouldn't be going under the green arc if we can ever help it with this aircraft, especially for that last kind of the component of landing. Now because of that, when we get our descent going here, it's going to be a pretty high-speed descent. So if you actually look over my airspeed indicator right now, you can see I'm doing about 250 kilometers an hour. It's about, what is it, 130, 140 knots, something like that. And we're making our way down pretty aggressively. I'm going to come over here real fast. I'm actually going to enrich my mixture now that I've got that all set. And as you descend, of course, because we're going to get more thicker air, you're going to have to pop the throttle back just a little bit. But as you can see, even with this kind of a descent, I can easily get 5 meters per second downward. I'm not pushing anything too extreme here. As a general rule, for those of you curious about the conversion, about 3 meters a second, which is right there, is considered about the limit of what's comfortable for your passengers. And the other thing you notice is we're probably pushing about 5 degrees downhill here. So even though we have that restriction as far as the engine goes, we're really not supposed to be going too much further than where it is right now, we can still get a pretty effective descent just because of the amount of drag that this aircraft has. Keep in mind, of course, that we have quite a lot of drag because we're a biplane. We also have this huge propeller hanging off the front right now, which sort of helps us out in that regard. Keep in mind, because this aircraft is traveling very, very quickly through this air, any sudden movements or heavy turbulence will damage the airplane. So one of the things you want to do is kind of keep that in the back of your head. Don't, instead of coming down at 5 degrees like we are right now, come in a little bit shallower so you're going to be a little bit safer. Now, the airport we're landing at today does have snow on it. And no, I'm not packing any skis or anything like that. Fortunately, the good folks at the Weather Forecasting Agency has promised me that there'll be nice soft grass when we go ahead and put the thing on the ground. So I'm not concerned at all. Now, our destination is, like I said, a small grass field, and it's right over my left. It's one of my favorite airports in the world, just because it's so in the middle of nowhere. It's like mind-bogglingly far away from everything. And believe it or not, this would be the kind of aircraft we'd probably see sitting out there in the yard. Now, believe it or not, if you look really, really closely here, let's see if you can get a good look here. There should be a river moving kind of east to west here, well, west-east, it kind of doesn't matter. Either way, it's going to be that general direction. And then we're going to be coming up on this really, really sleepy town in just a few minutes here. It's going to be right off at 12 o'clock. Once we get into that town, we're basically going to fly over, rip around the traffic pattern. It's going to be about 1,200-foot traffic pattern. It's going to be about 400 meters for us. And we're going to go ahead and pop this thing on the ground. Now, because of this aircraft, again, we're taking this really careful descent here. We're keeping our engine right at the bottom of the green arc there to try to protect it. We also have our cowl flaps nice and closed up here. Well, if we needed a fuel pump, as if our fuel pump is right here to the right of us, we could be fiddling with that a little bit. But again, nothing too worried about for that. We'll go ahead and flip on my landing lights here, make us nice and visible. Again, nothing too crazy. Oh, speaking of lights, by the way, if you decide to fly at night, this aircraft has a unique lighting system. It uses what they call fluorescent lights. So if I actually go like this, you'll notice the aircraft looks like this at night. Isn't that awesome? What you basically have is a bunch of radium painted little things here. And when you illuminate them like this, what you're actually going to be doing is you're going to be kind of reflecting that light, kind of re-energizing the radiation so that you can actually read all these items at night. It's just kind of one of those like, oh, that's kind of cool sort of things that goes on there. All right, let's go ahead and return this to a time of day where we'll be able to see it just a tiny bit better. Nice. So now we're going to be taking our kind of left base here. We're losing plenty of altitude. Like I said, we're doing, we've got about 2,600 feet right now, I think-ish. Let me look at my notes here. What do you want, 2,400? I don't know, I can't do the math fast enough here. And we're going to be taking our left base turn here. just a second. We'll overfly the airfield and then can get going. One of the things you're going to find with this airplane is its stall speed is kind of low. One of the things that everybody talks about as far as the legends of the AN-2 goes is that in the event that you have an engine out, they advise you to put the flaps down and pull the yoke all the way to your chest and land like you're, parachutist, kind of a thing like that. I think that's wishful thinking. I think it's a cool concept, but I don't necessarily trust the idea. But reality is, this thing does not have a lot of approach speed, and you'll see exactly what I mean. All right, let's go ahead and start our left turn here. Like I said, we're getting pretty close to our pattern altitude. Keep an eye on your temperatures right now. I've gained a little bit of power here in this descent. I'll keep it right at the bottom of the green arc. That'll be fine. Cylinder head is about 160, which is kind of, that's a little warm. Not warm, it's a little cool, actually. And we're just going to kind of execute our little left turn here. It's like I said, it's going to be a base turn. Yeah, let's look right out the window here and keep a good eye on where we're going to be coming in just a few moments. Like I said, I get such a kick out of this runway because it's just like, why? Why? And the rumor, of course, now is that the weather's going to be improving in just a few moments here. Let's see here. Oh, man, that Russian weather. Man, does that change fast. Thank God, otherwise I would have had to bring skis. And I didn't really feel like flying with skis today. All right, there's our runway. It's right off our left wing. You can kind of see it. If I see it, it's not going to be obvious, and you'll know what I mean when I get to it. All right, we're going to kind of hang this heading. There's the lovely city of Terra. Look at this. I don't know. It's like flying like the American Midwest. It's just so empty. All right, let's go to the right just a little bit. Keep an eye on things. All right, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Get pretty close to pattern altitude also, I think. Just judging. All right, let's take that left turn. Alrighty then. I love how they have like the foam ears right here. Like, what a great touch there. I love that. Okay, so pattern altitude here is about 1,200 feet. Like I said, it's about 400 meters. We're about that. We're about 420 meters. So we're pretty much right on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start slowing this down a little bit more aggressively as I would kind of introduce the pattern here. Now, the tough thing you have to keep in mind is we've got to slow down to get the flaps down. If we try to come ripping in here, like I said, we're basically going to do an overfly the airport real fast and then come back around again. I'm using this overfly as a way to basically lead off our last bit of speed here. You can see how this lovely shiny airplane just kind of cruising along here. Like I said, not the world's biggest airport, as you're going to see. If you look right off my 12 o'clock, you see it? See it? There it is. I did say it was a little airport, didn't I? We need about 100 feet to land, so I'm not too worried about it. Again, I'm just going to hold the nose up and get us progressively slowed down here. Now, one of the fun things you can do with this airplane, which I think is wild, is you can actually fly a forward slip with it. So by initializing a forward slip like this, you can actually get the plane slowed down just enough. Pull that nose up, and we're going to go ahead and drop our flaps there. Now, by doing that, what I've done is I've created all that extra drag that allows me to maintain the same speed I was maintaining. But now that I've got, those big old things hanging off the wings, kind of holding me back a little bit, it's going to cause things to come a little bit slower here. And again, I'll just go ahead and drop that last couple notches. Normally it's a press and hold, but that's about 20 degrees of flaps. They're not the strongest flaps I've ever seen, but they will prevent us from getting too much speed. All right, let's go ahead and execute our traffic pattern here. We're basically going to do our overhead approach. So that's going to be our landing zone. It's directly below. It's like I said, this is Terra. It's basically the middle of uniform, November, Oscar, Tango, by the way. It's got the little fence kind of going around the outside edge. It's just something so cool to actually see. Like, look at this little village that's attached to it. I don't know, I get such a kick out of stuff like that. And now that we've got all that little drag kind of hanging off of us, of course, we're going a little faster with these flaps. I'm actually going to start backing the power out a little bit. 2,000 RPM is fine. I find that you don't really need to use more than 2,000 RPM. A lot of people have the Gumps checks and they just jam on the gas kind of a thing like that to give them that extra little bit of kind of let's go kind of a thing. But again, we're just trying to gradually cool that engine down. And I'm actually looking over and we've got a new problem. We're actually overheating. Not overheating, but we're getting very warm. Nice. Again, not what you expected. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and execute my turn here. Like I said, I was just using that spot on the ground as kind of a little base. Holding our altitude, and I think we're right around 400 meters, right? Yeah, close enough. All right, crack those suckers open. Like I said, always keep an eye on things. We're not moving nearly as fast now, so that's probably why. But to be honest, how is it that I'm at such a low power and now I'm having issues? All right, let's go ahead and take our left downwind turn now. Again, I can just kind of see a little details and just super high drag airplane. I love like a little place for microphones. Again, great details here. Great details. Go ahead and square us up here. I'll get a crosswind leg. I'm going to go straight us up just a little bit. Again, this is just all about kind of reducing that energy here. And get a good look at the little airfield off our left. We'll go swing into our downwind leg. Right there. Now, I always remember when I was doing point turns when I was first learning to fly. They're like, well, remember, it's an inside-out maneuver. Well, in a flight sim, it's an outside-outside maneuver, and then I'll deal with however bad I messed up my altitude when I get back inside in a second. There we go. Not the world's best downwind leg, but good enough. There we go. Going straight back out. Take a look at my temps again. Ooh, they're still pretty warm. Still pretty warm. One thing I should probably do is double check my mixture. No, I set my mixture correct. Interesting. I'm just going to try my little downwind leg here. Again, one of the things we're trying to do here is we're just trying to bleed speed. So, like, anything we can do to get this thing slower and slower is going to make our approach much, much, much simpler. So again, there's my little airfield that I'm going to be popping down on. We've already confirmed it for obstacles on the ground. There's no special procedure. One of the fun things is, of course, if we get an AN-2 or something, you can probably pop one of those out of there. Or like anything else, kind of along those lines. All right, there's going to be a beam the numbers. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to hold that nose up just a little bit. Come on. We're going to cut a little bit more power. And I'm going to go ahead and dump the flaps all the way down. What I'm trying to do is just reduce our power. Now, this is blowing my mind. I'm at super duper low manifold pressure, but my temperatures are through the roof. This makes no sense in my mind. Either way, what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and crack the cowl flaps all the way open because we do not want to overheat. All right, so now we're going to go float down here, and we're just going to slowly start coming down. Approach speed here, usually I go about 100 kilometers an hour. Seems to be a pretty safe speed. That's even fast for this, believe it or not. But again, we're just kind of hanging out here until we get to about that 45-degree leg. That looks pretty good right there. So no, I would not have the cowl flaps open this far. That just, no. All right, let's go ahead and take our turn here. Remember, you're going a little bit slow here, so I'll be advised if there's like a lot of turbulence or something like that, it will make this turn a little bit more exciting for you. Now, what I'm trying to do is lose as much altitude as I can and keep it slow. You want to have power on for your approach here. You don't want to just glide it in. You're going to run out of room real fast. All right, we're just going to kind of keep that in real fast. That looks pretty good there. Straighten out a little bit. I'm getting just a little tight. There's our lovely runway. Now it's just a matter of putting it on the ground. Time to do our GUMPS checks. Gas is set. Our undercarriage is set. Our mixture is set. Our propeller is set. Our flaps are in the low down position. Our lights are set correctly for landing. Our speed is a little bit high, but we're going to bleed a little bit of it off. I'll slip the plane a bit. We want to check to make sure, temperatures are good. Everything else is good. We have clearance to land. And we're, like I said, just a little tiny bit fast. So we have a couple of those little pieces right there. Now, this aircraft, believe it or not, is pretty heavy. This is not landing a little Piper Cub. This is like a big. It's almost like it's like a TBM almost is what you're trying to land here, a PC-12 or something along those lines. All right. Like I said, normally I like a power-on approach, but believe it or not, I was so high, I still have energy remaining. I'm exactly at 0 throttle here. And go ahead and close that up a bit. All right. So the trick for this one is, like I said, normally we have power on, but like I said, we just had so much extra energy in that approach. I'll go ahead and bleed off the last bit of speed here with a quick little slip. That's good. And we're going to go hold over the ground. So believe it or not, we are pretty high. You're actually jacked here. So we're just going to kind of hold it until the plane decides to fly. If you feel that you need the tail wheel lock, make sure you engage that. And when we're on the ground, of course, we can apply some brakes. You want to go ahead and gently pull back. Don't pull back hard or you'll find yourself in the air. Did you see that? So when you fly this one, there's actually one little balance you got to play with the brakes. Otherwise, you do the little bouncy thing that I'm doing right there because I'm looking instead of flying. All right, once we're on the ground, we're pretty much ready to rock. We can go ahead and crack that sucker open, and now we are safe. We made it a very long journey. That was about 150 nautical miles for us, which is it's a pretty good distance. It's a pretty good distance. Not to say this plane can't do it, but woof. Keep in mind when you're taxiing again, if you did use the tail wheel lock, which is this lovely switch right here, you want to make sure you get the disable. Securing this aircraft is relatively straightforward. I'm just going to go ahead and hold the brakes nice and gentle. Easy on the brakes. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to secure it. We have a generator warning. Does not surprise me the slightest. I'll give it a little bit of power here. There it goes. Sweet. There we go. About 1,500 RPM. Right, well, not that high. We'll call it 1,100. Nice. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're basically going to get everything shut down before we get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and disengage all of my electronics here. good. I'm going to go ahead and shut off my inverter. Hopefully we didn't forget any switches. That could be problematic. We'll go ahead and pop all these guys down real fast. We're going to pop all these down fast. I actually leave the anti-fire system. We might need that. We'll go ahead and come to the UV lights. I'm going to pop those off real quick. Actually, I believe I closed one of the things I actually needed to leave open. My bad. I need these two. All right, so that's looking pretty good. That's off. What we're going to do now is we're going to run the engine up just a tiny bit, and we're going to cut the power off on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and push the throttle forward. It's going to run it up, and we're just going to push the mixture up. And you're going to get a big angry message here. Don't worry about it. I'm going to hit the continue button right there. Oh, and everything should cut off. Come on. There it goes. Awesome. So do not shut the magnetos off until the propeller stops spinning. Magnetos are going to come off next. Now that we do that, we can go ahead and close up shop. So closing up shop for us is just a matter of closing all the different shutters and pieces like that. Obviously, I raised up the flaps a moment ago, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. And we're all nice and closed up. We can go ahead and kill our last couple switches. We're going to go ahead and shut off all these. We don't need them for our journey. Looks pretty good. Alternators off. We're going to come over on this side, and we're just going to go ahead and disengage this. Notice we have plenty of pressure. I'm going to go like that. And you'll notice as soon as I do that, I actually have nothing holding us in place. So as you can see, wild plane, lots of really, really cool details, which makes this plane awesome. I really love it in VR. Probably not the best IFR plane out there, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. Enjoy.